You today. I know that we've just had a lot going on in our colleague group and in the world. And today we're going to be talking about the trends and what we see as coming down the line in terms of trends. We're also going to be talking specifically about some research that came out on what recruiters are looking for. And I was talking to a group this morning, and it's like, this is hard to focus on right now. It's hard to think about our work sometimes when there's so much going on in the world and in some of our lives. So I just want to acknowledge that and say that this is the little piece of the making the world better that I have control over, that some of you are passionate about. So I'm excited to be here today talking to you about how we can help people understand what are recruiters looking for and how do we best help clients meet that need, connect with recruiters as well as hiring managers so that they can have a job, because we all need that piece in our lives to be stable as possible and to feel happy doing what we're doing, fulfilled and satisfied, and to not be unemployed. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. How do we help people connect with recruiters? What are recruiters looking for today? What are some of the challenges recruiters are facing that we might be able to help our clients best navigate so that they can get the jobs that they are looking for? So say hello. Good to see you today, those of you that are able to join us, and excited. Yes, John, thanks for joining us. Excited to have you. So this research used to be done by a company called Jobvite. And one of the things that I've noticed is that sometimes people confuse Jobvite and JobScan. So I've had a recruiter say, "Oh, I don't trust JobScan." It's like their articles, hit or miss, whatever. Jobvite is a recruiter tool. So it's a ATS, an applicant tracking system like Talio, some of those. It has many features. And about a year ago, they were bought by Employ. So now this data is brought to us by Employ instead of by Jobvite. But we've been watching this data since at least 2015 is when I started having the reports saved in my system. I don't know how many years they were doing it before then. They used to do a European report as well as a US report. I haven't seen the European one in a while, which is kind of a bummer for our global organization. But that's what we hear. Gary's over there in Germany serving in the executive MBA programs. Happy to have you here, John and Gary and Valerie. Thanks for joining us. So what's going on in the space in the research is always really interesting and helping us figure out what do we want to do for our job seekers. How are they going to job search differently because of AI and recruiters and increase in applications? We'll see all these fun things. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about what this survey does. So Employ has 21,000 customers. And in this survey specifically, we get the feedback from 1,200 HR decision makers and recruiters. And sometimes people say, what size companies are those? And you can get a little bit of detail from that. They actually separate out larger businesses and small, medium business. You'll see the SMB on some of their graphics, and that's the small and medium business. And they explain what that means if you're interested. I will drop a link for this. I don't have that in my clipboard, but I will find the link for this and I'll drop it in there later so that you can come back and look for it. You can also just the Recruiter Nation 2023, and you'll be able to find the report and download it directly from Employ. So Recruiter Nation 2023, and this is who they've pulled and where we're getting this information. A pretty good size group in terms of surveys and those types of things. So I like that. It gives us a little bit more background than we would get otherwise. All right, so we're not going to look at all these details. We're going to look at some of the ones that are really impactful for the work that we do. Biggest recruiting challenges. I find this interesting that most of the blue lines are smaller. So dark blue being 2023. So they're seeing less competition. They are not struggling to have enough people fill the positions. They do have too many candidates for open positions. We see that third one here, and we'll see a little bit more about that later. Not enough awareness for employer brand. And then down here at the bottom, you see this reduced spending and budgetary constraints, and then internal training constraints. So we are seeing those challenges for recruiters. that's something we want to think about, right? We know recruiters aren't going to have as much money. They may not be able to adopt new technologies as quickly. They may not be able to do some of the things recruiting wise that they've been doing in the past. And our clients could benefit from that if they're outwardly seeking companies. They can kind of take advantage of the fact that a recruiter might not have as much budget to post a position, because if our client is the one targeting that company and paying attention, they might be one of the first applicants to an open role, or be able to network into a role before it's open or posted because of these budgetary constraints. So I'm always thinking on the candidate side, how can we benefit from some of these things? And of course, that also helps the recruiters out if our client who is a good fit is finding them instead of making them find us. So strategies shifting, we see a little bit more outsourcing. And of course, you see this huge incorporating AI powered technologies. That wasn't a question they asked in 2022. Of course, recruiters have been adopting AI technologies for years. It's just the first time that employee had asked about that. But you're seeing 34% of employers saying that they are looking at AI technologies, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into that here in just a minute. What are they using? How are they using it? Those types of things. So I'm excited to have this data, to know what people are looking at, and to think about how things have shifted. And again, we've got about 1,200 respondents to this, and I'll try to make it a little bit bigger there so we can see that. So we've got some hiring freezes, we've got some delaying of requisitions, and but there are a lot of stuff around here around technologies. They're not overlooking resume gaps as much as they were last year, which isn't really that surprising, right? 32% overlooking gaps last year, 27% overlooking gaps this year. Providing remote and hybrid work, I'm kind of surprised that that has held its staying power there. And always thinking about that. Increasing new salaries is also down this year. So some of the things we've heard anecdotally over the last 6 months, now this data is somewhat validating those in terms of what we're seeing. All right. So what's surprising you thus far? What do you think? How are these going to impact your clients? You can come back and look a little deeper, but always want to be thinking about, what does this mean for my clients? And there's not as many gaps being overlooked. There's not as many new salaries being raised. How are we going to help job seekers navigate that? And knowing that these are their problems, we need to also think about what services and products and articles, social media posts might we share that would help our clients and prospects overcome these challenges. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about where teams are more flexible in recruiting. So I thought this was interesting. They're not posting to paid job boards as much. Again, with those budgets being cut, they might be looking for ways that they can get around those expenses. They are using their personal networks about the same. Some of the changes here, you see the focus on internal mobility has increased. So the focus on internal mobility has increased, and postponing new recruiting investments, as well as that one's the same, opening new requisitions. There is more of that, which is interesting. So those were some of the changes that I looked at here, is that they're not posting as much to paid job boards and focusing more on internal mobility. Those are some of the biggest changes here. So thinking about how that might impact our clients. Hi, John. Hi, Donna. Good to see you, Corey. And okay, we're going to fast forward here a little bit to go to the AI conversation. So this is a big one. We've been talking about AI in recruiting since 2021, when we had a couple of our Career Jam presentations looking at how AI was coming into recruiting. We've really enjoyed Marvin Smith sharing how Seek Out and similar technologies are using AI. And of course, AI has been around for a long time. And in the recruiting space, at least since 2018, 2019, they started using systems that look at a client's profile and determine their personality type, some of those things. So we know this has been around, and now we see that more recruiters are using it, using AI to augment recruiting technology. 58% say yes. Using it frequently, 29%, very frequently, 53% frequently. And we'll look at how they're using it here in just a minute, but you can see the prevalence of this just continuing to increase, of course, as people have access to it. I thought that this was interesting, how recruiting teams are leveraging it. When you look at candidate matching, when you think about an applicant tracking system, or actually in this intelligent sourcing is like Seek Out and Find Them, where it goes out and finds people based on these AI algorithms. Chatbots and intelligent messaging, those ones have been around again for a while, so you've got the highest adoption there. And some of the other areas, job recommendations. So that means that they've got a career site that looks at someone's skills and matches their skills and says these are the types of jobs you should apply to. Screening candidates via automated messaging, got almost 40% of people using that now. It's interesting that we don't, crafting interview questions, but we don't see AI necessarily, doing AI interviews isn't showing up in here, even though those systems do exist. I wonder if those are kind of in here in the screening versus via automated messaging. Diversity, equity, and inclusion network balancing. So again, there's a hope that we could use these technologies to broaden the pool, to get a more diverse pool, because now we can reach beyond just the recruiter's network or the recruiter's resources that they know about and expand that search using AI and AI tools. So there's some great things going on there that our clients can take advantage of as they're thinking about it. So what surprises you there, or what stands out to you in terms of how recruiters are using AI tools? We probably get this a lot from clients, and now you've got, an answer here that you could share with them in terms of the latest data on how recruiters are using these AI tools. So I find it very helpful to have, at least some good survey data around that. I'm excited too, because we'll have Maisha Cannon coming in to talk about how recruiters are using AI technology. She's actually our kickoff session for Career Jam. So as we think about Career Jam 2023, she's our kickoff session for that, talking about recruiting AI technologies. And she's amazing. She's been giving presentations on this topic, and just give us a little more real world view than just the survey can give us. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at here is actually just the next page, because it finishes up on this topic. Are employers using like AI chat GPT? Yes, 28% of them are using free or low cost. Obviously, others have used those maybe more enterprise level tools that have AI built in, and then some people using a little bit of both. So they're using whatever, and probably whatever their budget can allow, they're using that to be able to get the efficiency and get the reach that they want to get using these AI tools. All right, so we'll fast forward a little bit here. There is some stuff more on here in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Unfortunately, it's just a lot of words, so you can go back and read that. This is always interesting to look at. How are people doing in terms of applications per open job? And people give this data of the average number of applicants per job. The dark blue here is a small and medium-sized business. The light blue here is a larger business. I think some of us quote the average that was from a Glassdoor article in the way back, like 2018, 2019, that said there were 200 applications per open job. This is obviously showing a much smaller average. And this is looking across the 21,000 people, because of course they don't need to do the survey data. They can use their data of all of their user base. And you're seeing here the average number of applicants per job is around 40 over their 21,000 users. So we might have to adjust our messaging there for job seekers in terms of the average number of applicants per job. And this is just one data source. We'll keep our eyes out for others, and feel free to share if you have others. But that Glassdoor study from 2018 that says 200 whatever might be one that we need to set aside in lieu of some better data. So the higher number of applications, the percentage of applications submitted is also up, but it's kind of all over the place. It's interesting just when we think about the most competitive time to find a job, this is an interesting graph. When is it the most competitive to find a job? When is it less competitive to find a job? We just have a 12-month window here, so who knows if that factors, if this looks the same each year, but it might get someone motivated to start applying in January when you could say the competition is a little bit lower in January than it is other times right now, right? Competition might be low right now if this graph holds over year to year. So those are some data points for us to consider as we help our job seekers. So thoughts on that, especially the 50 applications per job versus the 200 that we often quote. I want to, I'd love to hear what you think about that, if this data point's not accurate for some reason, or if things have shifted that much. All right. So, the next one here, we are going to look at, so there's some time to fill and all of those things that unless you're a recruiter, aren't as pertinent. And then we get to this application to interview ratio. So if there's 100 people that apply, the number of people that get an interview, as you can see, has gone down a little bit. So like 12 people would get an interview out of 100. And then the larger enterprises are way down here. Might have to back this out just a minute. The larger enterprises are down here, where about 2% of the applicants get a interview. Now, when you put those two data points together, that there's only 40 applicants per average job and only 2% are getting an interview, I don't know, those two numbers don't really go together very well. You say there's 100 and 2% would be, 2. So I'd have to dive in a little bit deeper and see why it seems to not be working very well in terms of the percent of people that's getting an interview when you look at the number of applications per job. But when you look at the overall curve, especially for small and medium businesses, we might say they're interviewing fewer people than they were a year ago, obviously related to those budgetary constraints. You can't interview as many people. You can't get the team together. You can't, whatever, maybe fly someone in if they're recruiting for an on-campus type of role. So it just a thought. And the big business, the decrease is less evident, but it's still an overall downward trend in terms of the number of people they're interviewing. Okay, so this is the kind of applications piece. Interview to offer ratio by company size. So if you get an interview, you get an offer at a big business. It's like 70%. If they have an interview, you get an offer. And you can see the small and medium business just very different there. So it's important for us to know, for our clients, to think about where they're interviewing and what might be getting in the way here. Why are small businesses less likely to give that offer after they've interviewed someone, and how can we help them close the gap, address those concerns, and be the person that gets that offer? So our next one, actually, I think it's the last one that I had pulled out here, is the best source of hire. So a few months ago, maybe a month ago, I did a source of hire carousel on LinkedIn and a really hard time finding new data. I had some data from Europe, which is fun to throw in the mix. But then this came out. I was like, oh, yay. And we still see job boards being seen as the best source of hire for candidates. So important. It is so important that we as job search coaches do not tell people not to apply online, because if they are qualified, the HR people see those online applications as being the best source of quality candidates. So if our client is qualified, they want to apply online, and they need to be aware of the posted positions that they're qualified for so they can apply. It's silly to have people not being apply online when this data, and the latest data I could find was 2 or 3 years ago. It's been repeated over and over again that the best source of quality hires is online applications. So we have to be careful of that. So it depends on the company. Someone's asking about LinkedIn applications versus applying on their website. I would apply Both, because here's what I've heard from a few recruiters is that the LinkedIn application system is separate, especially if the company is using LinkedIn as their applicant tracking system. And it seems a little silly to me, but not unbelievable, that sometimes a company might be using the LinkedIn system, but not everybody in the recruiting team is paying attention to the LinkedIn applications. So if the LinkedIn application isn't looked at right away for whatever reason, and you don't apply online, you might miss out. So I'm a fan of, even if it's even if it's the same role listed both places, I would tell my client to apply in both places, because they might just be using LinkedIn and you don't want to get missed there, but they also might have LinkedIn up but aren't really paying attention to it. And I wouldn't have thought that, but I have heard that from recruiters, that whatever it is, the recruiting team is split or whatever, and the LinkedIn application doesn't necessarily get viewed right away. It would be my preference that the client applies on the company website at the very least. And if it's on LinkedIn, also apply on LinkedIn, because that might be the number one place that the recruiter's looking, or it might just be an afterthought. We don't know. So I would encourage people to apply both places. Then you've got social media. It's kind of the second best source of hire. Actually, the third one, employee referrals, is still winning there when you kind of put the darker blue together. And then internal hires are maybe the right in time in line with employee referrals. Career website, so that's their own personal site. Obviously, they get good hires there, but they don't get as many. And then you see some of these others: direct application, job advertisements. I'd have to dig deeper as to how that's different than job boards, and in-person recruiting events, which of course are coming back, which is great. Important message here for us and for our clients is that yes, employee referrals and internal hires are important, but the job boards are still important. If you're 75% match or more for the role, which is also something based in research that maybe we'll dive into at a future time. If you have, 75% of the qualifications for the role, applying on the job board, on LinkedIn, on the company's website, all three, do what you got to do. It's the same application process, so hopefully it won't take you too much longer to apply, and that way you get in front of the hiring manager. Then, of course, we want to do all of the other job search strategies of networking, trying to get that referral, trying to talk to someone in the company, as well as applying online. We don't want it to be an either or. This is really, really an and situation. So that's the employee job search study for 2023. I'm excited that it gives us this newer data. It still has some gaps. It doesn't ask some of the things that past versions asked. Of course, it's asking some new questions, especially around AI. Always excited to talk about how that influences our guidance to clients, how it helps us make better decisions, ask better questions. And of course, we can share this data with them and let them draw their own conclusions so that they're in the power seat when it comes to their career and their job search. We do have a deadline next Tuesday. The registration fee for Career Jam will go up after next Tuesday. So if you've been thinking about that, go check it out. We still have a few speaker informations that need to go up, so we'll be getting to those. The one thing that people have asked about and wanted more of. So in the summer, we did a few sessions on using AI in career, using AI in resume writing, and people said, we want more, we want more. So you'll see baked into Career Jam is a session on AI in coaching and a session on AI in resume writing. So in essence, you're getting Career Jam sessions for free, because those two sessions alone were the same price as Career Jam when they were offered in May and June. So we'd love to have you for Career Jam. It's just always so exciting to talk about what's coming new and next, and what does that mean for our clients. For me, it's not just the trends, it's what does that mean for us and for our clients, so that we can be more successful in our work, our clients can be more successful in finding their jobs. And we'll be back here next Tuesday talking about the trends. We've got great new information to share because of the 5 new trends we'll be talking about for Career Jam. And we'll keep the people coming. If you've got suggestions on speakers, especially those aligned with the 5 new trends that we shared last week, please feel free to share those. And this is interesting. I'll answer some questions here. You guys put in some questions. A common employer app for college applications. That sounds like a good dream. It sounds like a good wish. Across all the colleges in the nation, I would find that to be challenging to coordinate, but I think it's a good thing to bring up to your NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers. Seems like a project for them to take on. Love that. And Gary, thanks for sticking with us. The average number of applications. Yeah, I'll have to dive into that one a little bit more and see if we can find some other data to figure out why that gap is so huge from the average of 200 applicants per job to this average of 40 or 50. I'll have to do some digging. And if you see any other data on that, please feel free to share that with us, and we'd love to see it. So we will see you next Tuesday, and always here talking about the now, the new, and the next in careers. Thank you, everyone.